Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be talking about the motion design process, and more specifically, we're going to talk about a couple of different steps we're going to take. The first step being discovery and research. So let's get into it. So how do I know when to use motion in my designs? Well, this isn't a decision that you can make on your own. As a designer, you're most likely part of, if not running, the discovery phase of your project. This might include stakeholder interviews, persona creation, usability tests, journey mapping, and more. During this phase, you'll learn a lot about your users, but most likely, they'll never come right out and tell you or that they need any animation or motion. So that first step is going to be to talk to your users and to study them and to review that feedback in order to make a good decision. As a designer, you really need to pay attention to areas or steps within their journey as to where they may provide some feedback or criticism. And when you're talking with your users, you might hear feedback such as, "I don't know where to focus. I have no idea how to use this tool. Where do I go from here? How do I know that I've completed the task? I don't understand what this step requires of me." This type of feedback is golden and will help you out on your path towards using motion to solve some big issues. So remember, user needs are the focus. When you align the use of motion within your digital product to user needs, this allows you to really see the value of motion. More importantly, it helps you avoid thinking about ways to add meaningless motion elements within your design. We have to first revisit the reasons as to why motion is used in your designs. It's because it provides clarity, it provides useful feedback to your users, it gives users hints and clues on what's next. Other benefits such as aesthetics, better communication, directing the user's focus, and reinforcing the hierarchy of elements stem from these reasons. The second step here is to use your user feedback and align it to the benefits we learned about. Was there any feedback that can be directly addressed by one or more of the benefits discussed? It becomes really easy to then justify the right motion design elements to use for that situation. For instance, if users are complaining that they don't know when a task is complete, a motion design element that provides feedback to the users would be ideal. We recommend really exploring portfolio websites such as Dribbble, Behance, maybe even CodePen, to find inspiration for the right kind of motion design. And once you're done, communicate those findings to your team. Now, you should have some pretty early ideas as to how you want to utilize motion within your designs to create a much better user experience. So how do you get buy-in for your ideas? It's a big question that I'm always thinking about as well. Trying to convince a team of stakeholders, product managers, clients, and developers that spending extra time and money on motion just feels like the right thing to do will get you only so far. How do you make time for the extra effort in your typical project's already demanding timeline? The quickest and most universal path to gaining buy-in from your team is to align your motion ideas to user needs and goals. This will ensure that you aren't merely creating animation for yourself with no benefit to the user in any way. So remember, share your intentions early in the design process with your development team and client. Communicating early will reduce the chance of an idea getting shot down prematurely. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be talking about the next step in the motion design process. We've went through the first step, which is discovery and research, which is kind of like a combination of steps, but it's step one. Step two is going to be design and storyboard. Let's get into it. So in this step, you already have the ideas and the inspiration. Now you need to design, and here's how you proceed. We always begin with a sketch. I can't stress how important this is. Sketching is that first step here. Every design process begins with a sketch, and motion design isn't any different. So pick up a paper, get a whiteboard, or bring out your drawing app and get sketching. Try to create a storyboard. Creating a storyboard of the key states of your motion design is really going to help you talk about the different steps. Use simple annotations to visualize the flow. This is a very, very effective way to communicate your ideas with others early in the process. So if you have something like a visual of like an input, all these steps are like that larger story. Number two, the visual could be like an input with a state, like a default state, a hover state or whatever is the next one. And captions explaining what happens. This could be stuff like when you have a password that you're trying to have the user fill out, when they enter not as many characters that's required to create a strong password, we're going to flag it red. So you'll have like inline validation. So you're telling that story about a potential journey that's happening. It's a really, really clear and effective way to communicate what you're trying to do here. And remember, share. Sketches and storyboards are great tools for getting some early feedback from your team. Don't be shy about sharing your sketches and storyboards. They are great tools for getting your team to understand what you plan to create and gathering valuable collaborative insights. So remember, get those sketches and those storyboards in front of people. You need that feedback to build a better interaction. And the last bit that I do want to talk about is based on the comments and insight from your team, you got to decide what motion design elements will be prototyped and user tested. This is the bigger part where you're going to be like, okay, I have 3 different concepts here. Which ones are going to be the ones that I'm going to move forward with? Just like when you're getting regular design feedback, works the same way within the motion design process. And if everything goes to plan, by the end of this step, you should have an acceptable sketch of what your motion element will look like. Hey everyone, we are going to be talking about the next step in the motion design process. So at this point, you have some concepts that you want to actually prototype. You may have already gone ahead and started prototyping, but I do want to talk specifically about prototyping because it's the most important step, I think. Let's get to it. So the next step is to create a prototype of the design. Prototypes rapidly get your ideas into motion before you've spent much time coding. From a UX perspective, the main purpose of a prototype is to get your ideas in front of users early in the design process, when refinements and iteration are way easier and less costly. So you do not want to go straight to coding. With Figma, you can easily do that without much need for anyone else but yourself. You can create a coded prototype if you want, or use a tool or a prototyping application like Figma. I think Figma is one of the best ones right now. I personally recommend using prototype applications as they reduce that time and effort like I mentioned prior. You know, the truth is, Figma can do a lot. Can create lower high fidelity interactions, doesn't take a long time to learn or use, and you can create some pretty sophisticated motion prototypes with Figma. Super, super awesome things that use a lot of motion principles like parallax or masking. So you can do a lot with it. But remember, use your own judgment to determine that right approach. Whatever you're comfortable with is going to be what's best for the team as well. But personally, I'm going to recommend using Figma to get your ideas across and for just easy collaboration. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We have the final step, which is testing. Let's get into what testing actually means within the motion design process. So now you've created that beautiful prototype of your design, and all that's left is to test that design to find out if you've captured the user's needs and whether the users are impressed. The testing process can be accomplished in 4 steps. Scheduling. I know, a lot of people overlook this step, but you got to identify members of your audience for the test and decide when the testing will take place. You need to make sure that your target audience is represented in some way. I personally like to go ahead and test by myself or even test with some close team members so to see if it works, but then you can then test it with actual users if you can grab them, whether it's within like a Discord community like at ZTM or just maybe a friend group that meets your target audience, anyone. Your next step is going to be to conduct the actual test. You got to run participants through the typical tasks that would lead to the use of the newly created motion elements and observe whether the new elements help or harm the experience. Remember to be diligent when gathering that feedback, whether you're filming or recording. That could really help if you don't want to take notes in real time. After you're done conducting the test, you got to review that feedback. Take time to go through the feedback to determine whether your users like the new elements. Feedback should be reviewed alongside the challenges identified in discovery and research. So if you had an issue with people maybe not realizing notifications and you wanted to update a motion element like the micro interaction of seeing a notification pop up, you need to make sure that those challenges are being solved within the feedback. Lastly, decide. Do the new motion elements improve the user experience? If yes, congratulations, you're successful. You can go and refine those designs. Otherwise, you may have to go back to the drawing board. So don't worry if you miss on the first attempt. Lots of people do miss or don't get quite as close to solving the issue as they would like, but that's why design is a very iterative process. This process shouldn't be straightforward, whether or not you're an experienced designer. What we must stress, though, is the need for communication, both with your team and with the target audience. Although motion adds so much to design, you don't want to end up with creations that just don't address the user's main pain points. Because at that point, you're not solving their problems. It's more that you were trying to make something beautiful, or you may just be basing a lot of your decisions off of assumptions, and you don't want to do that. Hey everyone, welcome back. We got some quick motion tips. Let's get into it. So the first one, let's animate content as it moves between states. A good animation fades the content in and out from one state to another. But great animation shows continuity in a transition by making the content move between states, like how the content is moving within this form. Make connections with shared elements. A good animation is going to use transitions like push left or slide up to show the content on a detail screen. But your great animation can establish a connection between two states by animating the shared content. Stagger the delivery of your content. A good animation changes the position and opacity of the material when it enters the screen. But great animation quickly staggers the appearance of each group of elements. So when you load results, each of those elements come in, maybe individually. Make the element in your content aware of their surroundings. Good animations move and show elements in context, but great animations show elements affecting their surroundings when they change. Provide context for menus. A good animated menu shows the content appearing from the direction of the button that opened them, but a great animated menu emerges from the action that created them, growing from the point of touch, so you really know where it came from. Try to use buttons for visual feedback. Good interactions display the events maybe next or around the button, but the greatest interactions use that button itself to show the different states. Try using the container of a button to provide visual feedback of a status. Try and create visual cues. Good design uses color, size, and position to highlight an important action the user needs to notice or act upon. But great design uses animation to bring attention to that important action without being disruptive. So when the user needs to act on something like very important or very critical, try animating the actions to attract attention. You can start with like a subtle animation and increase the intensity in relation to how important that action is. But remember, don't go overboard and only use it for critical actions, because this effect, the more you use it, will become less impactful and it could annoy your users. I love this one. Duration, speed, and easing are your friends. Timing is one of the most important considerations when designing transitions. Animations shouldn't be so fast or so slow it keeps users waiting. You have to find that balance. Think about gravity. All objects, when they move, have some sort of acceleration or deceleration, like a bouncing ball. If you follow these same rules and avoid linear movement, you're going to create way more realistic animations and less animations that seem fake. Think about tone early on. Think about the type of product you're designing for, and if a certain type of animation will suit it. Like a bouncing animation on like a financial page, it doesn't really suit it because it's not serious. we associate that type of seriousness with like financial institutions because they're handling something serious like money. So you want to be smooth and slick rather than more jovial and, childlike. Provide delight where it makes sense. User emotions play a huge role in interactions. We can reward users with, animations for accomplishing a goal, or just like nice sliding animations, keeping things nice and smooth, or nice like confetti pops, or something like that, or like a button that has like a little drone coming in. And, these kind of multi-state buttons are really neat. So remember, provide delight when it makes sense. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to do a quick recap on the motion design process. Let's see, what did we learn today? The first step is to go to your users and to study them and to review their feedback in order for you to make a good decision. And when you align the use of motion within your digital product to the user's needs, the value of motion becomes pronounced and apparent. The quickest and most universal path to gaining buy-in from your team is to align your motion ideas to user needs and goals. The main purpose of a prototype is to get your ideas in front of users early in the design process, when refinements and iterations are easier and less costly. And although motion adds so much to design, you don't want to end up with creations that don't address your users' main pain points. So don't forget to join our private online community on Discord. I promise you that this is one of the best resources from ZTM. We have other students, mentors, and even instructors like myself that are always willing to help if you have a question or just want to share some of your work, or maybe if you want to have a great discussion. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to learn so much in this project today. We are going to learn how to create our own National Geographic carousel, and I'm going to lead you along the way on how to do that. I'm going to show you some of the different techniques I've created so that way you can essentially create your own carousel section and even go as deep as creating a 3D image. So it's really simple. We're going to create some interactive carousel cards over here that are going to load up for us. We're going to create some very simple prototypes, which are just going to change from image to image in this kind of carousel. And we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to take it a step further and have our actual images animate so that way we can create like a 3D image effect. Now, you are going to need a couple of plugins if you want to go ahead and create like your own navigation. I've already created one for you, but if you want icons, you need to use like the Material Design Icons plugin. And if you want to get some new images, I highly recommend that you use Unsplash. This is probably the best plugin for imagery, so you will need it if you want to grab those images or grab new images. Okay, let's jump right in and get it. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be creating another project. This is the National Geographic Carousel. So if you don't already have this resource, you can get it. We'll make it accessible through a link, but you need to come over here and duplicate it to your drafts in order to use it, or else you are going to be out of luck. So make sure you do that first. So in the assets folder, we have all the images that you're going to need. We have all the components, and we even have the desktop variations with that section. So the first thing I want to do actually is create this carousel. So let's get into it. So you have the options to create like the details, and then you have the state within here. You could hypothetically even just, start here and create that state. So we have like is it the current? So we can create this together. We have the details with the right column, and we don't even necessarily need to create this active version. We're just going to kind of skip that step. So let's create the carousel section, create a variant, and we're going to set this to 20 pixels. And what's going to happen is this kind of like fills up and then it becomes like inactive, and then this one starts to fill up and it's active. So there's kind of like the two states. So we can call it like is active or is current or current, and everything is going to be false for that. And we'll create another variant called loader. So we have a animation. Okay, so this is really simple. We're just going to call this animation. We're going to create a new one. So this one's the start. This one is true because it's the current. And this is the start of an animation as well. And we are going to come over here, dig into this one. The fill is going to be now 100%. So it's going to show up. And we're going to make sure the details are 100% in pass through. This fill is going to fill the entire container. And then this is the very end. Yes. So call this progress. And this one's end. And this is going to be 50% pass through. So we can actually put this together now. We're not going to do any like prototyping in here. We're going to make sure that we do that on the page itself. And I'll show you how that was going to work. So we have our carousel details with no space in between. And we're going to set them to fill the container. So now, it looks good. It looks very good. This one over here is going to be current. And now we can go into here. The only thing is when it's at this point, because we're hiding it here, because this one needs to account, this very first one needs to account for these positions where they're not showing the yellow. These ones, when it starts, it's going to fill up so that you have the actual animation here, and it's going to complete. So it's like it completes and it's ended, and it's going to transition to the next one. So what we can do is we can make sure that those are around 6,000 milliseconds. So keeping it really simple. After delay, and the animation is going to be a smart animate. Let's do 6,000 milliseconds. And I'm just going to do that. And we can test it if we want. To see what that looks like over here. So let's do our flow 1 starting point. So you can see like it goes to there. And then we're going to switch the page, and that's going to be like grayed out. And then the next one's going to start. So nice little interaction there. We don't have to worry about extra pages. So I think the next thing I'm going to do, just to finish this up, I'm going to create my components in a separate area to test and use. So that way, we don't need to worry. But just want to grab those details. Deep sea dive. And then this one, we'll call it in plain sight. Now, if we come here, we'll see it working. Awesome. Looks great. And there you go. We've created our first carousel piece here. So we're just going to have that loader. And next we'll move on to creating a very simple carousel. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be working on this carousel. Let's go into our prototypes because we have two. We have a simple carousel and we have a 3D image carousel. So let's take a look at our simple carousel. So this simple carousel, what's going to happen is, let's just restart it. Let's get it back. So fill screen. So it's just going to automatically go for us. We won't need to worry about anything. So it loads. Looks good. So we have some nice like loading and the image just kind of loads in the background very nicely. So let's take a look and see how we can assemble the exact same desktop. So we have our desktops already here. And we can actually piece together. I'm going to just take this and work in our assets just below. I'm going to take those copies and remove it. These carousels, we can just place at the very top. So that's number 1, number 2, and number 3. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that this is the end, current start. This will be the end, no current. Well, we could do end. And now this is the current one, start. So we have a nice little, back and forth here. And the only thing we're going to do here is we're going to do an after delay. So after delay 1, we're going to do 6,000. After delay 1, 6,000, and then we're going to go all the way back. And we can say, we're just going to call this simple so we know which one. Let's go to our sidebar here. So we're actually going to do a 6,000 delay, and we'll do a 300 ease out. We can also not cheat, but take a look at what we did here. Yeah, it's the 6,000 delay. I had it backwards, unfortunately. So we're just going to do that 6,000 delay, and we could do 300, and then this one is going to be a 6,000 because we got to let the animation play out on the carousel container. There we go. Let's take a look now. So we have a nice little container. And there we go. We have it playing out. And that's a simple way to create a nice carousel with changing fills for the images in the background. So you have that playing. The only other thing, we just got to reset the component state. And so let's see what this one looks like now. And at this point, we can just do a nice dissolve. As we're fine tuning this, make sure to reset your component state so that way it plays nicely. And wow, just a simple carousel trick gets you this beautiful, nice National Geographic simple carousel. Hey everyone, and welcome back. Okay, we've created a simple carousel transition. Let's take it to the next level. I'm going to go into this prototype over here on the prototypes tab. And on that prototypes page, you'll notice that we have like nice, beautiful like blurriness to like movement. It feels like the images are like kind of coming alive. We're essentially going to create like an image component that handles that. So let's jump right in. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our assets and we're going to take out these images. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this is going to be a 1440 by 900 image. So let's do that. 1440 by 900. Or, let's create an actual frame. So we're going to frame this. 1440 by 900. We can make it auto layout, it doesn't matter. Put the image in the middle. And the image, it could be like, we're basically going to have 2 frames. So let's see. We'll say that this is type, and this will be our beautiful jellyfish. I'm going to create another duplicate. This is our jellyfish as well. Let's make sure we create another frame and call this animation, and we'll say that there's a start and an end. So this is start, this is end. This is not jellyfish 2, but it's jellyfish 1. So we'll start and stop like right here. And with this one, if we take a look at our component, we have another jellyfish layer in there. Let's go in. We have this radial, like this radial gradient on top, and we have like this blurred image. So let's try and recreate something similar. You can do this in multiple ways. So I'm going to create on the jellyfish over here, I'm going to create another fill, and it's going to be this nice gradient. It's going to be radial. It's going to keep it right here. And so it's going to be like, keep it to like 100%. But this gradient is basically going to act as like nice way to see our image. The image itself, we're going to make sure that, we are doing a good job of placing it in here. We can crop it. So that way we can control where it's coming from. So we're going to start there. Same thing with this image. We're going to make sure that it's inside that frame. And if we click that image, it's going to be cropped. And I like that. Right. Zoom in a bit. Beautiful. And we're going to take this image, we're going to make it more duller than usual. So we're going to bring everything back like it's the original image here. So it's not going to look as snazzy. It's not going to look nearly as snazzy. And the radial gradient, we're going to fix that. Bring that in a bit. And you can do a couple different things. You can take this and blur it. So instead of a drop shadow, you could do a little bit of a layer blur. And the layer blur is going to be like, I don't know, make the background black. Maybe the layer blur is a little too much, but that's fine. So it can be something like that. And then this, after delay of 6,000, or it's going to take 6,000. We're going to ease out. Smart animate, ease out. Okay. So we can call this our 3D image. Put our component up here. And we're going to take this image over here and just drop it in. So let's take a look at what that looks like. Our 3D image is just going to be right here. So let's take a look at our prototype. So I've just done like a simple scale and some fill. So we get a nice little change there. Now you can do this in a couple different ways. If you want to like not crop it, if you want to, keep it more simple like that. I've chosen to obviously crop it, but you don't have to. Like you can set it to fill, and fill may work a little bit better. So if you start it like that, and over here, click into here, and we set to fill. And then we expand it. It may work a little bit nicer. And especially if we, take down the blur a bit. So let's go back to our layer blur and do like 4. If you take off the layer blur, and there you go. You can create some pretty cool effects with this. If you want, you can make another variation of this and bring in this image. Right now it's kind of like, it's not it's sideways. But if you tilted it and made it smaller, I would just, instead of naming them all jellyfish, I would name them image. So if I come in here, oops, let's grab this image again of the shark. You can do some pretty cool things. So we have this one, and this one's going to be shark. This one's going to be jelly fish. And we set the property proper. And here we go. We can bring this in to our shark images. All those shark details, so we get a nice little transition. Let's see how it looks. And it looks great. I think the only thing is we just need to make sure this 3D image is called jellyfish. And we'll call this one so that way we get a nice transition from one to the next. Okay, so we have a couple of different issues here. We can also, instead of doing a smart animate, we can do a dissolve to see that transition. Let's see. So that one's working nicely. And there you go. All you need to do is just, one image to the next. It's basically you're creating that interactive component and dropping it in. And you can create your own very cool prototype like this. Those are the basics to creating that 3D image carousel. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We have an assignment today, so let's jump right in. I want you to challenge yourself a bit and create a full page carousel if you can. Try to create some of the similar interactive components that I created for that main carousel element. You want to try and create a prototype showcasing a change from one carousel element to another. And if you're feeling very ambitious, try piecing together some 3D image variations for this prototype. You can try new different types of tactics, whether that's bringing in a blurred image or just changing the color of the image. There's different ways to do it. Size, rotation, we did a couple of those ourselves. And it doesn't matter if you followed along and you did a lot of this already, you are golden. But if you want to go at your own pace and you just want to see how I was doing it, take all that you learned and apply it, you can do that as well. It's totally up to you. Remember to share your work with us on Discord. And don't let me forget, this is super, super important. Don't forget to join our private online community on Discord. I promise you that this is one of the best resources from ZTM. We have other students, mentors, and even instructors like myself that are always willing to help you if you have a question, just want to share your work, or want to have a great discussion. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So we're going to be building some pretty interesting components and prototypes in this project, our smart home application. Let's get into it. If you did not get a chance to duplicate this resource, do that now, because you will need to do that in order to edit it in future videos. Or if you're feeling really, really ambitious, just create a random design file and start from there. So let's jump in. What are we going to learn? You are going to be able to create some pretty awesome toggle components. We have some already for you, so you can use them as a reference, but you can create your own toggle card components and create your own interactive slider temperature control component. It's going to be awesome. We're not going to stop there though. You are going to be able to prototype with these toggle components. You're going to be able to prototype with your slider components to adjust temperature control and even think about other things like what does it look like when you add color in the mix. And yes, there will be an assignment at the end so you can follow along here or watch and then apply what you have learned at your own pace. And remember, you may need some of the plugins. So if you want to grab your own icons, bring up material design, use material design icons. It's one of the quickest way to get the more streamlined icons. I love using either or, free icons for everyone. If you need other things like imagery, like I've used a pretty abstract image for the background here. You can find some abstract images within Unsplash, so you can use that. But you're not going to need much. So remember, if you want to use other content like things from Content Reel, this is another great plugin for like profile images. You can use that to grab some great imagery if you need it, like avatar imagery and stuff like that. So don't forget to use those plugins if you do need them, but everything is already ready for you in this resource. Let's jump right in because this is going to be an exciting one. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are working on a new project here, the smart home application. And if you do not have this resource, please get it and go up to your little arrow here and click duplicate. This is the only way you're going to be able to edit it. So let's jump right in because we're going to start with some quick interactive components. Okay, let's travel over to our assets. And we have a bunch of components here, to be honest, but we're going to start with a toggle card. And the reason why we're going to start with a toggle card is because the toggle card is essentially like one of the main parts of our app. If we come to our prototypes, we have the toggle cards over here, and they're really going to help us, build out this app a bit more. So what I'm going to do is you should take a copy of these and bring them to the side. And I want you to essentially just detach those instances. So we have the breakdown of this toggle card. We have the light. And so when the light turns on and off, that's what's going to happen. It's essentially just going to, add a couple of different like light bulb rays. Now I created different ones as well for like the television. I created all of these. It made them a little bit like nicer than they were before, but you can create your own, and these are set to fill inside. So really nice cards. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and make my own toggle. So we have a toggle component. You can create your own right now, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to create, this is our like actual toggle. So you can create a toggle component. And what we're going to do here is we're going to have an on state and an off state. All you have to do is, click it to the side, and now it's in this on state. And we're going to make it 000 for black, 100%, and we'll keep this the same way. So, because what's going to happen is when it turns on, it's going to go into like this white state. So we'll keep our component, and we'll drag a copy down. And what we're going to do is we're going to, create a frame around these. And here you can do whatever you'd like. I'm just kind of playing around with different sizes and stuff like that. But if you wanted to, you can create any type of component you wanted. So I'm going to create one with no border radius around anything. The fill is going to be like 000 and like 10% or maybe like 20%. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another one and do the exact opposite. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to grab this component or this light so it looks nice, and you can add the on. So now we have different sizing. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this is going to be set to auto, and same thing with this. The spacing is going to be set to auto. So that way, they kind of look like that. So that's looking pretty good. And now we can make sure that all these things that are black are going to be white. So set them to FFFF. And so the toggle switch just going to fix the property here. So it's either on or off. So this one is going to be false. And this one is going to be true. And so that way we can just go, it's on. And now my background color, oops, these should all be, instead of white, they should be black. So let's set that to black. Now these can be set, this background can be set to white. And now we have our own component set. So we can call this our toggle card V1. And not only that, but we can just say on, this is false, and this is true. So these are our toggle cards, and you can prototype them to be anything. Like you can just click on the entire card and you can smart animate it. So it looks really, really good. We're going to do the exact same thing. On click, change to there. And now if I have my own background here, we can drag one of these on. Let's give this frame a nice background color. Maybe something like that. And we are going to set the flow starting point. And if we press play, let's see what we got. So there you go. We have our very own toggle card. And you can create a bunch of them just like I did. I've created one that looked just like this. Obviously, like the ones that are currently in the assets folder or the assets page look like this. So you can create your own for any type of smart home like component that you can think of. But there we go. We have our very own toggle card component. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to create another component, but we're going to go a little bit more deeper. So if you want, you can continue to create these toggle components. This one's more complex. This one's simple. It's just on and off. But if you want to go deeper, let's create this slider component. It is a very interesting one. So I'm just going to take one over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just detach that instance. And what I have here is this nice kind of gradient. So I have this kind of toggle on the inside of this fill. So you can move this fill around, and I have the slider. And that slider is essentially just like 20% background with a little bit of a background blur. So that means that, you know, if I take unsplash and like I fill the background of our frame here with something maybe like abstract. Let's see. You know, if I set this with a background blur, let's pick one. And let's say the background blur is like 20. It gets that frosted glass look. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to create this slider component, and it's going to be like stacked. So I'm going to show you how to make that and how to make it like drag and all that fun stuff. So let's go into our design. Let's create variant, and let's just do state and say this one is, I don't know, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say this is our 5th state. Oops, I have to select it. Make sure you have auto layout. This is going to be our 4th state. Oops, there we go. Our 3rd state, our 2nd, and we'll do another one, our 1st. So on our 1st state, we'll do something like this. Our 2nd state will look something like this. 3rd state will be like in the middle. 4th state would be like that. So we're going to move between 5 different states here. And one thing is, you notice like I want it to be like cool to hot. This is like our temperature control. So over here, we're going to go to our nice little thing, make sure our linear gradient isn't shrinking with our selection. Let's do that again. And I'm going to do it one more time over here. And we're going to go into our prototype. And we're going to select our little slider, and we're going to do like an on drag. So on drag that way. And you know the drill here. We're just going to go back and forth. On drag. Until we get all of the interactions we want. And there we go. And so what we'll do is we'll drag it on here. So this is like our little testing area. And I believe the slider, let's see what the background blur is set to, 40. Okay, that's more than enough. And let's go over here. So you can see that we have this kind of like nice little setting. So let's see. Looks good. Now if I want to drag it, I can drag it back and forth. Got that nice frosted glass look. And there you go. We have our very own slider. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We have our prototypes here, and we have like this already kind of set up for you, but I want to show you how I kind of put it together. Since we already have the toggle cards, we're going to use these ones that I built originally, and we can just take this out, and you can decide how you want to place these in, because I have these all set up as like a nice auto layout container. So this is auto layout, this is auto layout, and you have like the row. So in this row over here, you can put a couple of them. So this one's lighting. You can have, instead of lighting, you can have like the television up here. And you can say that both of these are like on. And then in the living room, we could have, or you can just say like, you can make up whatever you like here, to be honest. You have speakers, and maybe you have heating and cooling. And then that could literally just be your prototype, because you've done so much of the preliminary work within this toggle card area. It's going to make everything else really easy to work with. So let's see. If I go into play and see flow 2, I'll see that I have them already ready to go. And that's the only difference between this one and everything else. Like, it's showing the degrees that it's heating. But, that's like the easiest way to just take your interactive components and place them into your designs, and they're already ready to go. You don't have to create any additional frames. So make sure you create interactive components wherever you can, especially when you're doing a lot of prototyping, because it really helps users understand like how they can interact without you having to do all the legwork of creating like thousands of frames to, keep up with. And there you go. We've created a very simple one-page prototype with our toggle components. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be working on some temperature control stuff with our sliders. So you can either create a slider like I did. I created a nice little gradient here. It looks really cool. You can create your own, totally up to you. And you can use what I have. So that's what I'm going to be using today. I'm going to use what I have. And I'm just going to take this and I copy it. And I'm going to go to my prototypes page over here. And we can keep this really simple, because the temperature control stuff is actually quite simple. Like, a lot of this is just toggling things on and off. And so if I go over here and I go to my temp control, you can turn it on You can cool to, you can heat to, and essentially all you're doing here is, dragging if you need to. If you want to heat it, you're dragging forward. So lots of cool things you can do here. Let's do that. What we're going to do is we're going to start in this kind of like off position. So I think we even have the graphic for that. Yeah, we can use that one. And over here, we're going to do a couple. We're not going to do the whole thing. You can obviously take a look at what I've done here and see what that looks like. But so what we're going to do is to get this to cool, we're going to start and we're just going to, navigate to this page. And from here, we can do a couple different things. So we can set the slider now to, we're going to set it to not mid, maybe cool 1. So now it's at like 20 degrees Celsius. And we'll create another one. There we go. And we'll set this to 19 degrees Celsius. So we'll have a couple of different ways to get back and do what we need to do. And so this is cool 1 and this is cool 2. And then we're going to go to our prototype and we're just going to select that little nub over there. And we're going to do an on drag. Same thing with this. We're going to be able to drag in that direction and drag in this direction as well. And we're going to take this nub and do the same thing. Now, at any point, I think we should be able to turn off. So, just as quickly as you toggled on, you can toggle off. And there you go. So we have something here that's looking great. I'm loving it. Let's press this so we can create our flow starting point, and let's take a look because maybe we didn't get it right the first time. So I'm going to press this, turns on 20, 19, 20. So we can go back and turn it off and it navigates back. And there you go. We created our very own temperature control just with 4 screens. We just showed engineering and our team how we envisioned this little interaction to work. And what I would do at this point is I would take this, press Command S or Control S and call it, my temp control interaction. So that way they know it's kind of ready to be picked up or something like that. And it's ready to be seen. And so you can create multiple different flows that way. But that's the quickest way for us to create that. And so there you go. Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now, we just created like a very simple temp control where we're just changing the number, we're changing the value of the slider. That's basically it. And we can, show the value change, but we can do a little bit more here. We can also think about what it means maybe on the background. Let's create a different one over here. So I just duplicated this entire section. And in the off state, we can do something very similar to what we have here when it comes to like heating and cooling. Make sure that maybe is reflected, because as it gets colder or hotter, maybe that's something that happens there. So let's jump in. So this background blur, we can do a couple things here. We can come in and not darken, but we can essentially create saturation or something. Maybe it's a different color. There we go. What I've done with this one is I've taken that background blur, I put up to 75%. And I've taken the background image and That's essentially it. It's just been a change in color. And same with this one, like just a change in color on the fill. So you could just come in here and you can change that color if you want. And so say I started off with gray, right? At this point, maybe it's this kind of color that's like in the middle or something. And here, we're going to like a yellow because it's like medium. And over here, we can go to our color blending. And I'm kind of liking that. And I'm just going to duplicate it and put it on that page. So this is my other one. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to duplicate it, make sure it's at the bottom, and then delete the old one. And so now we can work with these ones. So at this point, we're getting colder. And here, we're going to get a little bit more colder. Like, not really. We're in deep cold territory at that point. I mean, 19 isn't that cold, but and there we go. So now when I look at this one, let's see what happens. So with flow 2, turn it on. And so it's a nice way to show like some color temperature change as well, not just the value change. And there you go. Now you have not just a simple temp control, you have color temp control too. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So we've done a lot of different things, toggle cards, sliders, temp control, all that kind of fun stuff, but we haven't necessarily done anything with navigation. And I want to show you a very quick prototype here because I want to show you how I'm going to approach it. So if I come to navigation, right now, the way I have the toggle card set up is you don't hit, like if you hit this toggle card, you will come into this area. And essentially what happens is it kind of pushes everything out and it gets really, really blurry, more blurry than it was before. So if we take our assets, say we have these two assets, we can build it here. We can take it together there. And so say we click on this heating and cooling. So we're going to navigate to here, but we're going to push everything out and we're going to animate all the matching layers. So we can see we have the background blur and we also have the background blur here. We can make it pretty interesting for ourselves if we, reduce that background blur on that one and we pump it up on this one. So it has a really, really nice like blurring effect. So let's see. We obviously have like a massive amount of blur and that's cool. But let's see what it looks like when we actually, have it come into play. So we have a flow starting point. Let's just call this flow 3. Let's hit play and see what happens with our navigation. So at this point, we click on this and it comes in. I know that was pretty quick. But do you see how like it feels like it's kind of like an overlay? It's like this new thing that's part of the screen. And at that point, maybe we do something in order to get back, like you drag it. So maybe it's something like this. So like we could put like a little X up here to hide it, but pretty cool how you have that nice, smooth, dragging interaction that brings that new screen in, kind of like it's like a new thing all on its own. And there you go. You can create some pretty simple navigation structures within this smart home app. And I really would love to see everyone try their best to extend this application outwards. Like, what does it look like to maybe add a device? Does it come in on this screen like that? I don't know. It's totally up to you. And let's take a look, because I really love it. Boom. I love how it blurs so much. And there you go, a navigation transition. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We have another assignment. So we are going to be creating a bit more of our complex interactive components. So I want you to take a stab at what I created. Create a toggle card, start simple with just a simple change from like back and forth. Then you can maybe think of building from there. Create a slider component so that way it relies on drag like we created in our videos. And if you're feeling very ambitious, try thinking about other controls within the app. We only really focused on a couple. There's so many things out there like speakers or television. Like, what does that mean? Remember, you could always follow along. And if you have been, you're maybe a little bit ahead, but if you want to go at your own pace, that's totally cool as well. Take all that you learned and apply it. And remember, please share your work because we're all interested to see it. And don't let me forget, but join our private online community on Discord. I promise you that this is one of the best resources from ZTM. We have other students, mentors, or even instructors like myself that are always willing to help if you have a question, just want to share your work, or want to have a great discussion. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to talk about how feedback drives better design. Let's get into it. Feedback can be a frustrating part of every project. It may feel like a battle with clients. With clients, you may feel like you are coming to a compromised outcome when it should feel like an alliance of ideas that elevates the design solution. Design critiques are full of little subtleties, just like any other conversation, and it can turn painful quick when you don't define a process or if egos get in the way. I'm going to show you how to do this. So, if it's so hard, why is it so important? Well, it's because you're doing it wrong, but we'll get into that next. It helps if you distance yourself from your designs. I'll say that again. You need to really distance yourself from your designs. Sometimes as a designer, you get so connected to your work. That may seem dramatic, but it's true. That may lead you to start making some choices that don't necessarily benefit your users. I know, it happens. Feedback is a nice reminder that design is a craft. Feedback can really help you take that step back and see your designs from a different perspective. Sometimes we get a little tunnel vision. It's so easy to get stuck in a silo, looking at the same designs over and over again, but feedback fixes that mindset and then helps us improve. Remember, feedback helps you grow. You're going to inevitably work with other designers, and those designers may have different opinions, skill levels, and experiences. Listening to their opinions and feedback opens up your mind to new points of view and urges you to try new things that you may not have tried anyways. Feedback gives you new insight and approaches to design that you will ultimately improve because of it. So, the big question, how do we get good feedback? Well, there are two types of feedback that can have a significant impact on your design. The first is constructive. This is what we're aiming for. This will help you move the design forward. It can uncover clues to answering those open questions you may have. It can identify new blockers for your idea's success and can add momentum towards a direction. Both negative and positive feedback can be constructive, so that's good. This is what we don't want, destructive feedback. This will cloud the way your design moves forward. Your design can be misled by asking unrelated questions or wasting people's time by derailing discussions. I'm sure we've all experienced this at some point. It can be difficult to understand what matters because there is so much noise. The goal is to get your group to give you constructive feedback. Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to be talking about constructive feedback. So, constructive feedback, let's get into this. Being clear about the context of the meeting is so important. If you don't, each person may have a different understanding of how far along your design is. They may also try to give feedback on irrelevant portions of your idea. And with a larger crowd, this can get out of hand super quick. Try preparing your invitees ahead of time with a quick intro before the meeting or when you send along your designs. You don't need to be lengthy, but it can be a good baseline so everyone who is involved understands the context of the meeting. Some context that you can provide are clear goals. Point out which aspects you're looking for feedback on, like non-goals. You need to state like the non-goals that are out of scope or just not relevant to your design yet, like maybe responsiveness. You need to let them know the stage of your design. Let them know how far along your design is so you can set those expectations. This matters since our fidelity naturally increases over time. Visual feedback can really bog down a discussion, especially if you aren't even there yet. Open questions. Raise any open questions that you or your team has regarding your designs. That way your invitees can bring valuable insight for you. And remember, please invite only the people you need to. I get it, you want to invite a bunch of different people, and you may think that will give you a lot of feedback, but it won't. While this type of openness is good, not all feedback is equal. For your feedback to be constructive, it needs to come from the right people. It may not be CEOs or others with big titles. It could be somebody else who understands the space much better. Figure out who is mandatory. Those with the most knowledge of the problem space, people who are implementing your designs, who you need buy-in from, etc. Figure out who is optional as well. You can invite others, but try to keep it small. When you do direct your questions, direct them to the people who you feel may give you the feedback you need. Optional invitees may bring some more insight as well. But you gotta mobilize your group. Open critiques have their place, but you may run out of time if the discussion gets out of hand. So you gotta put your attendees to work. To come out of your meeting with the feedback and priorities moving forward is by getting your group involved together. So step 1, use a whiteboard that's large enough for your group to add their feedback and questions to stickies. Step 2, time box. Set aside enough time for everyone to go through the list and vote on those stickies. They should vote on the ones they find impactful, relevant, or important to discuss together. And the last one, step 3, discuss. Go through what they selected and discuss it. The top voted stickies aren't necessarily the best ones, but if enough people voted on it, that means it resonates with them. But be wary about derails. Sometimes feedback may not be entirely relevant to the topic you want to focus on, and others may get excited about it and could derail your whole conversation. The group activity that we just outlined should stop this, but in the event that this issue does arise, and it will arise, that's okay, bring up its relevance to the goals you stated for the meeting. So remember, stay on track. You can bookmark the feedback and come back to it as a group at a later time. Show your invitees that it has been bookmarked so that they don't think that you're ignoring them. And that's how you get constructive feedback. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be talking about what we learned about feedback. Let's get into it. So, design critiques are full of those little subtleties, just like all the other conversations we have in our day-to-days, but it can turn painful really quick when you don't define some sort of process or if egos somehow get in the way. Feedback gives you new insight, though, and approaches to design, and you will ultimately improve as a designer because of it. Constructive feedback will really help you move the design forward. It can uncover clues to answering those open questions you may have, and it can identify new blockers for your idea's success and can add momentum towards a direction. But please try preparing your invitees ahead of time with a quick intro before the meeting or when you send along your designs. This will really help you stay on track. But for your feedback to be constructive, it's going to need to come from the right people. And it may not be the CEOs or others with big titles. It could be somebody else who understands the space much better. And please don't forget to join our private online community on Discord. I promise you that this is one of the best resources from CTM. We have other students, mentors, and even instructors like myself that are always willing to help if you have a question, just want to share your work, or want to have a great discussion. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So this is going to be another exciting project. We are building a home renovation website. More specifically, we are working on the landing page in this file because this file does have multiple projects associated with it. So let's get into it. If you do not have this file, get it. There's a link ready for you, and you can edit it by clicking in the drop down and duplicating it to your drafts. That's the only way you're going to be able to edit this file. And just so we are clear, we're going to be building so many things here. So jump into the assets. You'll notice that you have the landing page ready for you. We'll be working together to create some of our own components, but we have components already here ready to use. So we have nav items, navigations, we have website buttons, room cards. We're going to put those all together. You can use the ones that you want and build out your own landing page. I have this ready, and we're going to take this landing page that we have ready and we are going to create some really cool prototypes. Things like just parallax introductions, clicking through like a testimonial carousel, full image parallax, staggered delivery of cards, and an automated gallery scroll. So we're going to be doing a lot with this landing page. And like always, there's going to be an assignment at the end. So you can either follow along here with me, or you can watch, absorb all that knowledge, and then apply it afterwards. So the other thing I do want you to know is we may be using a couple of different plugins, especially if you want to build your own page. You're going to want to use plugins like Unsplash. We use this plugin a lot. It's a great way to get some good free imagery. You can see here there's so much quality in these images. So you don't have to use no bad stock photos and stuff like that. We will be using some icons at some time, so you may want to use material design or streamline icons. That's going to be a great way to get icons quickly into your designs before you pick an actual library. And if you need fake content to fill in, you can use Lorem Ipsum, which is a great way to get just fake content. Basically, you just click on something, you can use it to generate some text. Great way to generate some fake content. If you need other things like images for faces or addresses or names, Content Reel is going to be your friend. You can generate great things like text by numbers, full names. You can do images like logos and avatars. You can even get icons in here. So much is available within Content Reel. And those are the plugins that you may want to use if you're going to build out your own landing page and then go ahead and create some great prototypes like we are today. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be creating a home renovation landing page, and we're going to be working on some of the interactive components within that landing page. There are a couple, not many, but there are a couple. And if we come into our assets over here in our home renovation website resource, we can see that there's, estimation form elements and landing page elements. We're going to focus on this side for this project. This is our entire landing page, and we are going to start with creating our website buttons. So buttons are super easy, like super easy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to work on this side over here. I'm going to select my text layer and create a label, and we're going to create all these buttons. We have, it seems, some regular primary, secondary, and text buttons, and we also have some large buttons for our navigation. So let's start with our text buttons. So they're going to be 56 pixels in height. Let's wrap this in an auto layout container, and we can set the fixed height to 56. We can also set some of the outside padding. 24 pixels seems good. I think I have maybe 32 on this, but we can bump it up to 32. I like this color, so we can grab that color, and I think maybe 4 pixel border radius is going to be good. And we're just going to call this default. And that is not how you spell default. Let me just go back and fix that and create a component. Boom, there you go. First thing, we're going to create a variant. At this point, you should all be like interactive component ninjas. So please follow along, do your best, type, and I'm creating all the different types of properties that we're going to see here. Nav. So whether it's a nav button or not. So let's set that to fill. And there we go. I think at this point, what we can do here is we can create, I'm not going to use auto layout. I'm going to just drag them. So we have this one. This is going to be false. This is going to be our default button and the state, or our primary. And our state's going to be a hover, and it's going to be black. So we can just steal that black. This is default type primary. So now we have 2 buttons. Now we can create another button here. This is going to be our secondary button. And let's see. On this one, it's just going to be a black outline. So we can kill the fill, go to stroke, and then the text inside, we're going to do black as well. And lastly, for some good measure, we're going to have an actual label button. So we can reduce the amount of padding on either side, leave it like that. The height we can leave, but the padding we're going to reduce. And the other thing we're going to do is we're going to call this our text button. And yeah, I think that's good. The other thing I want to do though is I'm going to take off the fills on these, and this is going to be a green. This will be green too, but we can maybe like make it darker, and we can start linking these together. So like on hover, we're going to see nice little dissolve on this, maybe 200, 300, maybe a little too long. So on hover, and while hovering. So that looks good. I think the next thing I want to do is create these large buttons. And really, the only thing that we're doing here is we're just, taking this button and creating 2 variations of it. So this is going to be true for nav, and it's going to be 88 pixels in height. And the other thing is we can make these labels a little bit more chunky. So right now they are medium. I mean, right now there's 18 pixels. Like, I don't know if you need 18 pixels. Like, you could probably get away with like 16. 16 seems fine. I don't like big text, so this will be 18, and no border radius on this because it's going to span. And I think that's good for our label. So this is our primary nav one, and this is going to be our secondary. And essentially, all we are doing here is we're swapping. So, and I'll show you why we do this. Because when this goes below the fold, and if you see in our prototypes, after it reaches this point and scrolls down, it's going to be a black background. So we're going to just handle that scenario. And there you go. I think we're all ready to kind of test it. I like to make like a little, I'm going to call it our element frame. And we can bring all our components in. And I like to just test like this when I'm creating a bunch. Just create a plus and start it out. So this is our first flow. Let's see. We got a nice little, that's nice and subtle. Looks good. And there you go. We got some really nice button components. We could just call this buttons. Hey everyone, let's create a room card. So this is our room card. I'm just going to bring it over here for reference because we have our nested button in there that's looking so cool. So I'm going to press F to create a frame. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to steal some of this text here. So we have like a text container. So we can steal that text container. And I'm going to steal a button from up here. So we have our button and we can call this our content container, anything you'd like. At this point, you can set like a healthy amount of padding on each side of that frame. And then you can make sure that your auto layout, text, and everything is, good, ready to go. I like to keep things nice and clean here. Learn more. And I'm going to take that frame and press I and grab that nice green. At this point, you can turn this into an auto layout frame. And why am I doing that? Because it's going to be a fixed frame. And it's going to be fixed height. And the next thing I'm going to do is grab another frame. So I'm going to press F and just go like this. I'm going to open up Unsplash. Unsplash, where are you, my friend? And you can do anything you want. So let's just grab a picture of a bathroom in this case because we're using that text. So I'm going to go in here, select this frame. Let's grab a beautiful picture of a bathroom. That looks cool. And we'll call this one image. I mean, if you want to know what like a real designer does, like this is it right here. We're working pretty quickly. So we're going to fill the container with the height, fill the container with the width, and then we're going to stretch it out. So this can go on the top. And there you go. We have our very own card, and it's a component already. And if we take this card and go to our elements page, we can play around with it in there and press play. Let's see what it looks like. So you already have your own like interactive component nested right into here. And there you go. We've built our own card component. So I'm going to just move this over here with our other components, create that instance, drop it in so that way we have it here in our little showcase. And you can just modify it. That's what I'm going to do next. I'm just going to modify it on my own. You don't need to do that, but totally up to you. There you go. Hey everyone, and welcome back. Our next step is to create some navigation links and the actual navigation. So let's do that. So these links are pretty easy to create. What I'm going to do is create a text layer. It's going to be 16 pixels and it'll be regular. We'll just call it a nav item. And we'll create two. We're going to grab that green. Oops. Let's grab the green. Looks good. And we'll grab this gray. And so we're just going to create, that's all there really is to it. We're going to create multiple components, and we'll just call this our nav item, and we'll just say our state. You can prototype it pretty quickly. And so this is going to be while hovering, we're going to change to that item. And the next thing we're going to do, so this is going to be set to hug. These are going to be auto layout components. So that way they hug the container. Same thing with this one. So this is going to be default state and hover state. So we have our nav links. So we can just put this up here. Next thing we're going to do is grab one of those, oops, not the whole thing. We're going to grab one of those nav links. And I'm going to grab this logo as well. And we can create our navigation. I know it's hard to see right now, but I promise you I'm going to fix that in a second. Let's call this our nav items, navigation. And I think we're going to need a login button and a get your estimate button. So we can use one of these, bring that in. And so we're going to say this is our right column. And right here is our left column. And this, I'm going to copy it and paste it. Over here, we're going to make sure that it's not set to 36, but it's set to auto. So that means, we can have them stretch no matter what. We are going to have to work on this background for now because it's just way easier. And we are going to do two things. We're going to fill this out. So how it works, we'll have testimonials, and I think I have services and gallery. So I make a duplicate, one more. And on here, we'll have login and get an estimate. Or get your estimate. I like that one better. Get your estimate is way better. Get your estimate. And we will put a stroke on the bottom. And you guessed it, that stroke's going to be green. So we have a nice little space between these. They're all in an auto layout frame. We can create that component and create two variants. Remember what I said about having not only the variant with the green, but the variant with the black? Well, with this one, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to just say this one's green and this one's going to be black. So I'm going to switch out this estimate one with a, let's see, primary and secondary. And I'm going to make sure that this is going to be black too. It doesn't need to be, but I'm going to go the extra mile there. And we can make sure the fill on the entire thing is white. And here you can test it out perfectly. So let's see what that looks like. Oops, that was a little too much. Let's press play so we can see our components now. So we have our nice little nav item, and we have our entire navigation looking very snazzy. I love it. You want to go the extra mile, you can see what this one looks like too. Same deal. Now here at this point, you can take this, make sure that it's spaced out nicely. But I think we've done everything that we needed to with our interactive components for this page. Hey everyone, and welcome back. Illustrate how some of these prototypes have been built because I want you to try and build your own. Right now I have some landing page prototypes over here that have been built. If we press play, you can use those components that you've used, which is great. But we have this introductory one, and this one's a really nice one because it just kind of comes in. You can go to how it works. You have that 1, 2, 3 delivery, and then testimonials is where it's going to end. So we've done a lot of this so far in the course where we worked a lot on different types of staggering of events and staggering delivery and just how we've worked on parallax in general. So as you can tell, if we go through all these items, we have, the items are over here are kind of staggered already. You can see that some of these items are just like, they're given 0% opacity. If I look at rectangle 1, this one is off the screen, and a lot of it's just, after delay coming in here, having 2 buttons to click to bring in this next screen where everything isn't showing again. So a lot of these things aren't showing. If we go into this process container, we can see that we have it's staggered. If we say that we want to just want to show you, that's kind of how it looks right now, and that's how it's going to fade itself into this other intro screen. We could say the exact same thing for over here, where this section is hiding off screen. So whenever we are introducing a screen, so we start with an after delay, then a click to the next screen, then another after delay, and then introducing this content, then a click from testimonials here, and then another after delay where we introduce other staggered content. So let's take a look at that. So we have after delay, learn more, bringing that in. So when we click after delay, it happens automatically for us, and we're going to do it again. After delay, and this comes in as well. So you can take a look at those interactions in a bit more detail to get a sense of what interactions and what tiny details I played around with, but I really urge you to try a little bit of your own. We've done a lot of this together already, but I want you to try, some of this parallax stuff, and we'll do some more parallax stuff, more simple parallax stuff in some of the next lectures. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So we have another parallax element here that's really easy. We've done this one a bunch of times already, but I want to show you what I did. So let's click play. And this one is super easy to put together. We have parallax. So if I just click on drag, let's first make sure we can see everything. If I click on it, that's all that's happening. We have that beautiful image that's coming in, and it fades in, and then we just introduce this content separately. So I urge you to just give it a shot because this one is super, super easy. We can come and take a look at the design as well. So from here, we literally just click, we navigate, that image comes up. And then if we take a look at the text within financing, we have the website buttons all the way down here. And that text is in here in this area. And that's essentially it. It literally is much easier than the first introductory one. So I'm going to leave it at that. But please, if you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to ask on our Discord, because this one, I'm sure anyone can help you with. You're just literally staggering the content. And it's just a nice way to break up some of the landing page, because the landing page is long, right? And if we look at our assets and we look at this landing page, the reason we would have a big piece like this is so that way we can show off or have a CTA and show off a nice image and, get people excited about the program. In this case, the renovation program. So to create a very simple parallax, remember opacity and position are your friends for your text or your other elements, and just the fill of imagery as well. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be playing around with a testimonial carousel. So let me show you what I'm going to teach you how to recreate. We're going to have this nice container here, and we're just going to click back and forth. And that's all we're going to do. So when it gets to the end, kind of like pagination when we built that little kind of clicker. So let me actually just take this. I'm going to take this one. And you can see that this is a little component. This one, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to create 3. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3. This one is going to be 100% black because you can go back and forth. And this one's going to be 100% because you can go back the other way. And I think it was 25, something like that. So this is going to be a container. So if I push it all the way to the right and I select enter, I'm selecting all of these. They're all 0%, except this third one, number 3. We're going to make it 100%. This one, if we push it to the middle, we select all of these, make sure they're at 0, and then you can select the number 2 and push it at 100. And so now this one's still connected. So now all we're doing is basically clicking these and putting them together. So we're going to use gentle, just back and forth. Let's see what it looks like. This one was a very easy one for us, I think. And there you go. I mean, if you wanted to go the extra mile, we could just go like this, unsplash, bring that baby up. So we have the bathroom. Let's look for a bathroom image. Maybe we switch the images as well. There's one. And which one's this one? Maybe we'll do living room. So if we take it that step further, it starts looking even better. So there you go. You have your own little component. You can create this as a component if you want. Just plug it into your landing page. That's what I would do personally instead of creating a bunch of frames. But sometimes it's just easier to show it that way. So you have your own little interaction for testimonials. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be doing some work on some staggered card delivery. Let's take a look at our prototypes here. We're just going to press play, come into our sidebar here, and go into our staggered cards prototype. So all we're going to do here is click services, and you come in and you have like these cards that pop up. So same old parallax effect, just with a drag, you can go back, down, and up. So we can create that pretty easily. We can steal this prototype right there and make a copy. And you all know the drill. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up. So I already have it. So that way it's essentially, going to the page I needed to go to. Just going to delete that. I'm going to make another copy. So let's make a copy of this. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure that these are set to 100% opacity. So that's going to come in first, and second, you can see like we can stagger them individually if we want. Like if we really wanted, we could do something like Let's see. Here, let's go back, start again. Here we go. So we're going to start with this one, 100% pass through. And then if we create another one, another page right here, we can do 100% pass through as well. And so we can make sure that the title is there. So I'll actually go back, make sure that my title is lined up the way I want it to be. Now we just stagger that delivery one at a time, and we should get the effect that we want. Now we can come to our prototypes if we want here to see what exactly I did to get such a smooth transition. 500 milliseconds seems nice, but you could do something else. So let's do it. So that one's already connected for us. And now we're just going to do the same old after delay, 500 milliseconds, ease out. Same thing on this screen, 500 milliseconds ease out. Let's just add a flow starting point and press play. So just gonna click fit screen, services. So that's looking okay. Now, the next thing we can do is stagger them a bit. So now, when it happens, that looks exceptional. I love it. So that's what you can do to mimic exactly what I did here with the staggered cards. So obviously it's just like that parallax effect where you're kind of just offsetting them just a little bit. So that way you're introducing them at separate times. It's a nice way to bring the user's attention to those cards. Let's watch it one more time. We have the title, boom, boom. It's just a really nice little bit of detail there. And there you go. That's how you just stagger your cards. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be creating a pretty cool prototype here. This is our gallery prototype. So let's see. So just going into our prototypes, going into gallery, we're going to fill it and rerun it. So it comes in from the side, and then you have this whole like thing happening where they're going up and down. Looks great. So let's analyze this a bit. So we have the bare screen. You know what? We can actually just copy this bare screen over here. Let's copy that, bring it over. So this is introduced, and then we have these long strips. So let's create another version. And let's find that version over here. Sorry, that information. So we have this container that comes in. So we can say this is 100%. With these types of like landing pages, parallax effects are essentially like the best thing that you can basically do just to bring content to that forefront. We have the gallery. Okay, so at this point, if we look at our left and right container, they're already set for us. We just need to now bring them in this page. So this one's gonna come all the way down, and our right container Let's do that again. There we go. Right here. And we'll bring our other container named right all the way in. Do something like that. So that looks really great. And at this point, we're going to have a nice long animation. And I think I did the max on this, to be honest. I think I did like 10,000 milliseconds. Yeah. So slow and 10,000. Nice little animation. Well, it's not quite little, but it's a long one. So slow at 10,000 after delay. And let's set a flow starting point to see what we did. So once again, we're just kind of moving positions here and getting that nice little like camera reel effect. That looks really, really nice. A great way to show off what this company has done. And there you go. And that's how you create a nice little gallery animation. Hey everyone, and welcome back. Let's get into this new assignment. So I want you to try and prototype some more parallax effects. I mean, create some prototypes for your landing page that focus on parallax effects and other motion design principles like offset and delay, easing, and more. If you're feeling a bit ambitious, try thinking about how you can incorporate other motion design principles into this landing page. Is there dimensionality? Something like that. I'd be really interested to see. So remember, share your work with us on Discord. And please join our private online community on Discord. I promise you that this is one of the best resources from ZTM. We have other students, mentors, and even instructors like myself that are always willing to help if you have a question, just want to share your work, or want to have a great discussion. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We have another project that we're going to have so much fun with because this one is loads of fun. I love forms. I love building forms. I know many people don't, but this one's going to be pretty cool, especially with all the interactive form elements that we have. So this is going to be the other half of the home renovation website, which is the estimation form. And please, what's going to happen is you're going to access that resource link and you're going to be wondering, oh, why can't I edit it? And that is because you have not duplicated it to your draft. So please remember to do that before you even start. But let's jump into the assets so I can show you around a bit. We're going to create many interactive form components, whether that's form buttons, arrow icons. There's even tooltips if you want to use a tooltip. There's drop-down items, an actual drop-down inputs. We have toggle cards, checkboxes, carousel items, and carousel cards. So many cool interactive components that you're going to build with me. And what we're going to do to just cap it all off is we're going to take all those assets and put together a beautiful form. We're going to have form items flying in and out of the page. We're going to have like an interactive like carousel. These checkboxes are going to be interactive. Everything's going to be interactive. We'll be able to go back and forth, and I'm going to show you how to do that in such a quick and easy way, I promise. Now, you will need to possibly use some plugins to get by. And those plugins that I've used are, you've guessed it, material design icons or streamline icons. There's Iconify. So this is the one I use the most. If you want to get like icons for like this, then Iconify is probably going to be your best bet because you can, search up something like toilet or search up swimming, and you can find like very similar icons to what I have here. And the other plugin that I use a lot is Unsplash. So those are my go-to plugins, especially if you're looking for images of like kitchens or something like that, or other types of items. Like these are the best photos you can get for free. And with that being said, let's jump right in, not waste another minute, because this is going to be a lengthy project and a fun one. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are in the home renovation website file. If you don't have this file, please come over here, get that link, go over to the duplicate, and you'll be able to duplicate this file to your drafts. Super easy. That way you can use it. I'm going to navigate to my assets folder. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here to the estimation form element on the right side. You'll notice that there's two sections. And we're going to create a bunch of different components for our form. So let's start with our form button and toggle button. This is going to be super easy. So I'm going to press T for text, create my text layer, and Shift A is going to be my button, my auto layout container, and we're going to make a fixed height of 48 pixels. So at this point, I feel like everyone's going to be a superstar at creating buttons because they're probably one of the most common types of components. So creating a property here, and I'm moving pretty quick, so don't feel like bad if you can't necessarily keep up, because I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and you can take your time while you do it. And I'm just going to copy, because I think we need a couple different states here. I'm not going to worry about like things like hover state and things like a focus state. Why I'm going to worry about hover state, sorry about that, but I'm not going to worry about the states like focused and pressed. I'm just worried about like hovered and disabled. So I'm going to grab the text. So there we go. We have the text layer, and we can easily just put on hover. While hovering 200 milliseconds, there we go. We already have a button component. We're going to copy this one over and just call it toggle button. You can call it whatever you'd like. But what we're doing here is we're going to create another variation. And at this point, we can go the extra mile here. But let's see. We're going to create a new variant. We're going to call it, is this current? And everything's going to be false. So it's going to be like a little radio toggle. This one's going to be true. So this is going to have a stroke. And the text inside is going to be that. So what's going to happen is with this button, you're going to hover, and then on the hover, you're going to click. And then on this one, you're going to click, and you're going to go back to this state. So we're not going to worry about the hover there. This one could just be like default state. You could go the extra mile and make this like a hover state. So I definitely encourage people to, try a bit there. Let's create like a frame, call it elements. And I'm going to just drag a copy over. So we have our two copies. Let's go into a prototype and click our frame, flow starting point, press play. Let's see what we have here. So we have that nice hover state on our button, and we have a toggle button. We're going to click it and unclick it. And there we go. And there you have it. We have our first button components, a regular button and a toggle button. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be working on our progress bar next. So this is a pretty simple one as well. The progress bar, it's kind of hard to work with. Like you won't be able to like resize the green on the inside, but you can, hack it together with an auto layout container. Let me show you how I will do it. So I'm going to actually just take these and hit Shift S, or you can just hit S. Here we go. Let's see. We have our container. We're going to just call this our components. So that way we have a nice way to, view them all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create I'm going to bring a copy of this progress bar so we can kind of recreate it. But it's going to be really simple. This progress bar is going to like move as the form goes along. So we'll create a container. So we can call this progress. And you can make this any which way you want. Like if you want it to be more rounded, like you can do that too. And so we can do that. We can have it across the screen and like it's kind of rounded instead of cut off. So I'll show you how you can do that. So this is only like height of 6 pixels. So say if I wanted to make it like an 8 pixel one, the background's going to be like that. And then I'm going to take another, we can do like a rectangle. So you press R and just bring that in. So I'm going to call this my fill. And you can already make this a component. Like, and then it's that easy. So we can call it auto layout. So it'll have a spacing of 80 pixels from the right. So it's going to fill like that. This fill, so you can see how it's already, coming together. This fill over here, you just have to set it to fill container and fill container. So now it'll be 80 pixels. So you'll need to do some math when you do this to get it right. That means like from page to page. So if your width is like 1400 pixels, so you need to do some math. Like if you have 5 different pages, what does that mean? Like, you'll have 1152 for this page. This page you'll have in, let's see what I have on this. And this page you'll have 864. So we'll do that math together, but essentially you're just kind of counting, you're going to decrease the amount of space you have here as it fills or as you progress through the form. So if you want to make it rounded, you're just going to set the right side to look like that. And there you go. You have your own form already, your own progress. And the great thing is, if you wanted to, you could like create different steps within the form if you're always going to have 3 steps. But I like to keep it pretty simple and, keep it like this. And there you go. You have your own progress bar that we're going to be ready to use as an interactive component within our form. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be creating another set of components. We're going to be creating our hover icon components. So our back and forward little buttons here. So we have a 40 pixel one and we have a 24 pixel one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get my plugin ready. So I'm going to use material design. You can use anything you want. Like I like material design. So I'm going to use that one for this. Oh, I'll just drag that there, but I like that one. The only problem is it's just a PNG. So let's just use our icons. So I'm going to grab 2. Okay, so we have our icon here. So we're going to create these buttons. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another frame and frame it. And it's going to be an auto layout frame with a fixed height and a fixed width. So we can do 40 and 40. And it's going to be 100. So it's going to be round. It's going to be in the middle. We don't need any padding. And it's going to be no fill. And it's going to have a black stroke. And we can call this our icon button. Oops. And there we go. We have our icon button in there. So it's going to be 32 pixels, I think is going to be a good size. Let's create a component for this and start creating some variants. So we'll create the small ones first, and then we'll make the right ones. Okay, so we have our variants. First, we're going to create a size variant, and then we are going to create a state variant, and then we're going to create a type variant. So we have this one is going to be left, The state's going to be default, and the size is going to be large. And let's set a fill so that way we can see better. So we have our icon button. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a smaller version. So it's going to be left. Actually, let's keep it for now. Let's create our hover state. And oops, I'm not spelling really well today. And on our hover state, we can just grab the color that we're using here. It's gonna be like a darker gray. So we have that ready, and now we can connect it. So on hover, we're gonna go there. We can duplicate these now and create a small version. Let's go to small and let's see what we use. I think 24. Yeah, 24 looks great. So let's just make these 24 pixels. And if I click enter, I can, auto select the icons inside, and those can be, I think we can get them to maybe 16. Oh, that's maybe a little too small. 20 looks fine. So we have 20 pixels. Now what we're going to do, these should already be linked up because they're copies. So what we're going to do next is we're going to move these over and we're going to call them right. And same thing with this. Move these over. Actually, let's make another set of copies. And we're going to call them right all together. Now, the only thing we're going to need to do is, we're going to bring this little bad boy in here. And this one's going to be 32. And we're just copy and pasting them in. Gotta make sure that this one is 20, just like over there. So copy. This one's gonna be, I can't find the other one. There we go. So we have our components. They look great. We don't need no spacing in there. And we can essentially space them out accordingly. And they should all be good. So that's gonna hover to there. So we can grab a set of these. We're going to grab all of these actually. And bring them into our little elements tab. So now we have our icon. Let's press play. So we have some beautiful icons that we're going to use for our hover states and our back and forth buttons. We'll even use them probably in our carousel at some point. So these look great. Great job, everyone. Hey, everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be creating our very own general input. So this is a nice little input that we have here. And as you can tell, it has like this. It has multiple states. So it has content. This one doesn't. This one is like the hover state. And then you have like it's active right now. So it has like the kind of border. And then it's not active, but it has content, so it's set to true. I'm going to show you how to create this. It's really, really easy. So we're going to press F and create a input over here, height of 56. We're going to set it to auto layout. So it's going to be a fixed height and fixed width. We're just going to call this our general input. You can call it like an alphanumerical input. We need a stroke on it. So I'm just going to put that stroke, and we can come in here and grab some colors. It's going to have a fill of white. That's fine. And it's going to have two pieces of text in here. We have the label and we have the content. So I'm actually going to copy these and put them in. So you have our label and our content. And so the really great thing about this is that you will have multiple different states. So we can actually start like creating the component itself. Let's just set this to fill container. So what's going to happen is, and I'll show you how awesome this is going to be. The label is going to be a regular size. And then as soon as you click on the hover state, it's going to shrink and this content's going to come up. So that's how it's going to look. Okay, so we have this ready basically. The next thing I want to do is to make sure that we have some properties. So we can do content, false, and then we have active, false, and we can have state. So we have like 3 different states here. Let's just create 4 different variations. So the first one, we're not going to have content. And this is going to be about 16 pixels, and it's going to be like gray. Like that. We can do the exact same thing over here. But this is going to be our hover state. So we have, let's see, we have content. There we go. I don't know why it said false. So you can obviously, like, inputs are much more complicated than this. Like you have error states, you have like focus states, you have hover states, and we're only accounting for a couple of different states, but that's okay. And I think, you know, if you're going to create like a design system, this is a good way to kind of start. So now this has content, true. It's active, which is also true. And it's in the default state. And I mean, this could also be its own state, like, that's fun. And this is 75%. Make these both 75% opacity. And this is not active, default, and true with content. And these are false with content. And there you go. We have our own input. If you wanted, we can do something like this. While hovering, and then on click. And then mouse sleeve. So it looks something like this. But first, I want to make sure that this is named label. I'm actually legit going to call it label, and content. Going to call it content. Resize our little component area. Let's press play. See where we are. So we have hover, click, and mouse sleeve. And you got content that fills in. And there you go. We have our own little container here that looks great. Our own general input. Hey everyone, and welcome back. In our next lecture here, we're going to worry about creating the select dropdown and the dropdown itself. So let's jump right in. What we have here is actually pretty good. It's a good starting point for the dropdown because we can essentially duplicate it. And I'll show you why. So we're just going to call this our select dropdown. And at this point, we don't need the content in here. And if we take these, we're just going to duplicate them. Bring them over here for us. Move our elements over. So we have our drop down, our select. Now I'm going to steal this icon here. And this icon is essentially just going to be on the right side. And a nice little auto label container around the label. We'll call it. So that's content. And we'll do the same thing here. Content. And we are going to just do that. Okay, so we have the main thing ready. We have the label in there. We have all the states. Now the drop-down item. So I think I've used 14 pixels, so I'll show you how to create the drop-down item. Label and Shift A. So we just did 12 pixels by 8 pixels on the frame, so we can do that, 12 pixels by 8 pixels, and no border radius or anything. And it's going to be left aligned, and we can create it. Just call this our item. And we can create different properties from this, different variants. So we'll have state. So we have default state, hover state, and then selected state. And then I'm going to just give this auto layout container. And there you go. We have our different states here. So we just want to do hover. While hovering, that's what it's going to look like. And on click, it's going to look like that. And if we want to reset it, maybe we just on-click it there. But we keep it very, very simple. So we have our item. So while hovering, on click, looks good. Now we have our little container here. So we can just bring our drop-down item. We can remove this. We can remove this. And I'm just going to stack these over here. Next thing I'm going to do is create a container for all of these. Do Shift A. And we're going to call this our drop down. And we can keep it pretty simple. Like this one's really simple as well. I'm going to make sure that it's only like 4 pixels. It's going to have a stroke. That's like 75%. And maybe the stroke is like, and maybe 2%, 2 on the radius. And we'll do a border of around like maybe 4 pixels all around. And there you go. You have your own, you can actually just like throw these pieces of content in there. And I think it needs a little bit of a drop shadow. So I'm just messing around with the fill settings here. And there we go. We have our little drop down. So what's going to happen is when this one doesn't need a fill like that. When you hover and you click, it'll show up like this. And then this is going to be false. Then it's going to have content. Make sure that these are all set to fill. Now it's going to have content. Oops. And there you go. That's what this is going to look like. And now we have our very own drop down. Now we can go a step further here and make these 0.5 so they're really skinny. But we have a nice little drop down that we can now use for our elements. Let's continue onward. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be working on creating some icon toggle cards. So these are like these radio cards that I've created. I'm going to just make a copy of that and bring it over here. And I'm just going to make a copy. So you can see how I went ahead and made this. So we have this little radio item. You can grab like icons anywhere. Like I just found these online, but you can use the material design. I'm not sure you're going to find a toilet on material design. You probably have to find on Iconify, which is another plugin that we have here. Let's see. Iconify. So this is another great plugin that you could just search anything, and maybe if I search toilet, there it is. So you can search a bunch and find that. Now with this, all we're doing is we have like a selected state and we have a hover state. So we could essentially just keep it pretty simple. So if we come into here, create our component, this is just exactly kind of like how we created this toggle button. So we have this state where it's like half full. Honestly, it is just a auto layout container that has like a fixed height, but the icon is set to 40 pixels and the text is always going to be the same. If you're using the same text, that doesn't wrap onto another page, another line. So it's going to be really similar. And then anything else with inside here is going to be green. So this green that we have here, I think it's 4 pixels. So it's going to be 4 pixels, not on the inside, but on the outside. So it's kind of like that nice little border. And all these are going to be green as well. And so what's going to happen here is on hover and then on click, and maybe we just go back to that. So we can delete those, but that's how essentially we are creating that very simple box or radio checkbox. So it just looks something like this. Let me just press restart. So it looks something like that. Oh, so let's see what's happening here. So while hovering, it's going to go to state 2. Just make sure it's saved properly. Hover, selected. And I definitely urge you to take a look as what I've done in my actual components within the file, because, I'm kind of just working with you all here just to create something really quick. But when you're doing it like properly, there's different things like is selected. I have 3 different states here. So 3 different variants. I have the type, which is bathroom, kitchen, backyard, and basement. And then I have a selected property, which is this one. So you could have it selected, and then you could have a selected hover. And then when you click on the hover, it goes back to the default. So totally up to you. I didn't go that far with this one, but these are things that you need to take into account. And that's how you create a little icon toggle. I think this is going to look really great for one of our forms. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be creating checkboxes. They're super fun to create. We can come over here in our radio and checkbox little area. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to go to material design. Let's see if we can find like a check. So go to search, see what happens. So they actually already have a checkbox, but we're going to just drag the check mark. And this check is only like 16 pixels. I mean, I find that hard to believe. Maybe it's like 12. I don't know. Maybe. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay. So we have our check. It can be 16 pixels. And what we're going to do here is we're going to wrap it. And it's going to be fixed. It's going to be a fixed of, let's see. This portion 16, and then the outside is 20. So what we're going to do here is, this is not going to be the background. It's going to be center, center. We have our check in here, our background, which is going to be like white right now. Keep it as such, and we'll have our actual check. This vector can be around 20 and centered with no clipping of content, so it comes out of the box. And the stroke can be black with 75%. So that's looking pretty good. That's looking fine. Now, let's set this to maybe 20, 20. The vector on the inside is going to be set to 16, 16, and we'll use a 4 pixel radius. Oh, 16 and 16, not 26, 26. Maybe 2 pixel radius. And this is going to be a 2 pixel radius on the outside. And we are not going to use that. We are actually just going to keep it white. So it's going to be, this is our box. And this box over here is going to, we're making it a little slightly different than what we have. And this is just going to be hidden, but we're going to make it white first. So we'll call this our check. So our check is hidden. And the fill on this is white on the box. Okay, so we have our component. We're going to create a variant. and we're going to have a hover state, and then we're going to have a selected state. So let's create state, and we'll have one that just says checked, and we'll make them all false for now. So we drag a copy over, and this is not checked, but the outside is going to be this color. We can remove the white. So there we go. We have our hover state. And what we can do here is we can already just hover on it. And we'll make another one. And here we're going to put these checks on. And the only thing we're going to change now is we're going to change these to like green with no stroke, like that. So we have that checkbox. So what's going to happen is while hovering, and this is going to be like on click, it's going to go there. And this one on click, it's going to go there. So let's take a look if that works. And bring it into our area here. I'm going to copy that. See if our little checkbox works here. And so we got a nice little hover, click, click. And there you go. That's how you create a little checkbox. Now you can go the extra mile, like I said, and you can create like a checkbox list item with like multiple labels inside there. And then you can take that list item and create like a actual list of checkbox items. But you don't have to do that. You can. I would definitely recommend if you did do that though, because now you can take that checkbox and really utilize it. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be working on just the carousel kitchen card and the carousel dots. Now, I'm not going to go through the process of actually creating the card itself because we've done it with this card over here. It's the exact same layout. So if you wanted, you could kind of take that card. But essentially what this is going to be an item to go through like a carousel of like maybe kitchens that you could select. And what I've done here is it's literally an auto layout container with an image, and it's a fixed container. So it's going to have the image set to fill on its height. And the text over here is in a container for text. And then it's also in another container, a details container with that container with the text and with one of our toggle buttons. So what happens is, and we can just quickly go through a demonstration. So I'm going to throw it in our little elements section. So what happens is you kind of hover over this selection, you click select, and then you have the ability to see that it's been selected. You can unselect it. So it has that same type of like border that these have, but it's a slightly different. The toggle also kind of moves into that state as well. So that's all that card is. Super easy to create on your own. And the carousel dots, I feel like we've done them a bunch. We have like the regular default state. We have the default, sorry, the active state. We have the default state. And then we have the hover state. So what happens is when you hover over these dots, let's take a look. So you only have that hover connection right there. So if I'm going to copy this over to our little elements area, you essentially have the ability to hover over. Now, the reason why I haven't put like an on click on that one is because it's going to be built into this whole carousel that we are going to build together with these pieces. So We're going to use our icons that we created over here. We're going to use our carousel dots. We're going to use our kitchen cards, and we're going to create this carousel together. And I'll show you how you can create something pretty awesome. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be creating a kitchen carousel. So this one is a bit more involved. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create just, 3 versions of this. So 1, 2, I have 4 versions. And, you can take all the versions that we have in here, but we're going to keep it really simple. And I'm going to just call this my card container. So my card container, it's 24 pixels. And we have to account for this little bit of what happens when this comes through. So we're going to make sure that this is not clipped, and we're going to just shorten it. It needs to be clipped, unfortunately, because we're going to shorten this container so you can't see the other one. So what we're going to do is we're going to just add a bit of space. So we have a little bit of space on each side. About 4 pixels. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then last but not least, we're going to take the auto layout container off. And we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So we got 4 pixel container. Now don't touch it at this point. This container is solid. We don't need to worry about it right now. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our carousel dots. So I'm going to make a copy of these. And I'm going to go up here into our components, paste the carousel dots, and I'm going to grab our little icons here. So these icons, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them and put them on either side and create a container with these. So I'm just going to call this row. Like, you can call it whatever you want. You can space it out however you want. So I've spaced out to like 16 pixels. We can actually just like remove 2 of those because we're only going to move it once. Now in our demo over here, I'm going to take this so I can show you the demo itself. So let me take number 1. Take number 1 and go to my elements, because that's where we've been testing, and put it in here. I want you to see how it's going to function. So you can, you can click, and you can move. Now, we don't have that many cards. We're not worried about that right now. We're only worried about 2. So we have this set up right now where we have the row, and then we're going to have the entire carousel. Now you can go ahead and with this row, you can clip it if you want. Totally up to you. Like, you can leave it as such. The reason why I've clipped it in our components over here, as you can tell, it's been clipped so these kind of hang on the outside. So it's like a fixed width, is because the way it displays in this area, I don't want this to be on the left side, left aligned. So when it comes up, it's just hanging on the left side. So up to you. I'm not going to clip it right now, but you can totally clip it. I mean, you can do something like this. And there we go. So you can clip it, up to you. Now that I have my component ready, I can do my carousel, make it into a component, and create a property. So I'm just going to say state or position, and there's position 1. Let's make sure that we have an auto layout container, and this one's going to be position 2. Geez, I really do not like how Figma sometimes does this. It automatically like sets the property name for, or messes up the property name. So we have position 1, position 2, and this is my carousel. So I want to make sure that it's not active, and then this one is active. Okay, now we can see the different containers here. So that one's going to be set to, we're going to hide it. So just 0% it. Instead of actually hiding it, just 0% pass through. And this one, we're going to 0% it because we can't go backwards, right? We can't go backwards on the first one. So what's going to happen here is the card container is going to shift on this screen. So let's link it together. So on click, you got to remember, reset the component state here. We're going to move it. Let's see what we have for our actual container. I think it's like set to slow. So we'll just keep it very, very simple here for everyone. Set it to slow. Same thing with this. If we're going back, we're going to set it to slow. And if you want to actually mess with these like little items, set that to slow. And set that to slow. So everything should be good. We have to reset component state. This is the original one. Let's take our version and put it below it. See what it looks like. Okay, let's scroll down. So we have everything working. So we can select, and we have that beautiful outline. We could select. We theoretically can only select one at a time, but let's see. Beautiful. And even when you click here, it's looking great. And there you go. That's how you create a nice little carousel with multiple controls. Hey everyone, before we get into actually prototyping with your own components or the components that are available to you, I want to show you how I constructed the actual layout of the form. So over here, I don't really have much here. Like I just have like the progress bar, and essentially the progress bar, you remember what I said about having that offset. So if I set it to like 200, like it's going to be like filled. So it's only 200 pixels of padding. Since the width of this entire page is 1440, I've set it to 4040. So that way it's not even showing up. I have a simple auto layout container with one of our buttons and some like other different types of elements and some images overlapping one another. Nothing big. I want to get more into the specifics of the actual form here. So I have basically a title, and then I have some text explaining, and then I have like an input or something like that. And then I have that button. What happens is when we actually like have that button, it's going to be disabled. So we created that disabled state, and then we move into the actual filled state. So you can't progress forward without having filled out this general input. So the other thing I have here is like, this is regular frame. So the progress bar is always at the very top. I have this section right essentially in the middle and 200 pixels from the top. That's what it's going to be like for everything. Everything's going to be 200 pixels from the top. It's going to be fixed width of like 414, super, super simple. And same thing with here. Like this one's the only one where we're going to take up more horizontal space. And that's because of the width of your carousel container that you selected. So what's going to happen is that is essentially the layout of the form. You'll start with a disabled state, and then when it's filled, it goes into that continue state. Then you can click it and move forward. The other thing is these back buttons, you can link them back towards the page that you were just on. So you can keep that really, really simple. If you go into your prototypes, you'll notice that's kind of how it's laid out. Is we have this kind of like nice parallax intro, which we'll kind of build together. And then you click, goes to this page, continue, goes to this page. And when you click, you can open up the overlay. And when you select the overlay, it fills. Parts within here are all essentially kind of laid out the same, and you can kind of go back and forward. So that's essentially how we have laid out, and we're just going to loop backwards. So after you finish this, you've selected, you're just going to move back to the beginning of the form, but there's so much more to this form. So that's just what we're going to handle for our prototypes. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be building the introduction to the estimation form. So as you can tell, we have this little section over here, and it's going to be parallax. So everything is kind of like off screen a bit, like these images, and they're all at 0% opacity, so they're going to come in nicely. So let's actually take a look at what that looks like. Pressing play, go to estimation. So yep, that's exactly what we're going to create. Let's do it again. Beautiful. And then you're going to get started. You want people excited. You want people to get really, really excited about, building that estimation for their new renovation. Renovations are a big deal, right? They cost a lot of money. They essentially take up a lot of time, but like when they're done, like you're so excited. And so we're going to build the exact same type of excitement with some of this parallax. So we're going to just select all the items here. I've moved them out of the way. I'm going to set the pass-through to 0. And then I'm going to go to my prototype tab, move over after delay. And by this point, you already know like what's going to work for you. After delay is always going to be like how we're going to kind of set this off. We're going to use like maybe slow and maybe 1500 milliseconds to get that going, and nice little animation. So let's press our flow. We'll just call this our estimation here and press play. So there you go. We've already created the introduction. We have everything coming in nicely. We have that progress bar ready to go, and we have like the get started button ready to be pressed. There you go. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So at this point, now we have like our form. The other thing I want to bring up is that we're not going to necessarily construct the layout together, but we'll get close to doing that, I think, where we can use like all these areas. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm asking them, what's your postal code or what's your zip code? Like I want to know exactly where you are, so that way we know we can actually access, like we can actually work with you. So I've put like a fake code in there, so that way they can know our location. And what's going to happen is, we're going to keep it really simple. So if we want to, we're going to just link backwards there, and we can keep this very simple. Ease out. Let's take a look at our actual website here. So when we get started, it kind of comes in, and you click that and you move to the next page, and you can go backwards. So there we're doing a little bit of a push So that's 1, that's labeled 1 as well. So we'll have to fix some of these things here. So this is labeled 1, 1. With this, we're going to dissolve instead of doing anything with Smart Animate. I think it's just easier. Well, let's see how it works, because the one thing I'm going to do here is make sure things look great and function properly. So when we click on here, we're going to move to this page. Let's test it out. So get started. I want you to note this little progress bar here. So right now it's not doing anything. Now let's try it with a Smart Animate. So it's moving for us even when you go back. So postal code, click it, boom. There we go. We have our first portion of this built. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the estimation form. Sorry, not the estimation form, but the dropdown. So this dropdown, we're going to go back to here. That's going to help us go back, and we're going to use a push. Same thing with this one. We're going to push, and we're going to Smart Animate matching layers. This one's named 1, so we're going to name it 2 because this one's already named 1, right? Well, let's see. We're going to navigate to here after we click continue. We're going to push it in. Let's see. So we get a nice little movement there. If we go to our prototypes, we can get that animation that we want. Like right now it's set to 300, but 600 milliseconds slow is a really nice way to do it. So, oops. If we go back to assets, we can do that. And same thing over here. We'll do slow 600. And this one here, slow 600. Now, we have not talked about how we're going to handle the dropdown. So I'm going to come into my items here. I'm going to select the dropdown, copy it. And I'm going to bring it right here. So what's going to happen is when I click on this, it's going to open that dropdown, but it's not just going to open that dropdown. It's going to open the overlay. And that overlay is going to be manually set. And you want to close when you click outside. It's going to be manually set 1, 2. I like to keep it pretty simple. Make sure it's 414 pixels for 14. So let's see. Yeah, perfect. And over here, we are going to navigate. You can just do an ease out 300 with a Smart Animate. So it kind of fills it in so we can see what we have. So what's going to happen is when I click this, that comes up. I can select that drop-down item and then move to the next page. So let's see if ours works. Starting from the intro, get started, postal code. I want to go back. Okay, works. I want to go back. It works. Boom. I want to go back. That works. And you can see even the progress, it's so beautiful how it works like that. And there we go. We're ready to work on our next bit of this form. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We are going to be working on the next parts of our form. We're going to work on the toggle cards, and we're going to even work on the checkboxes. So let's get to it. I'm going to bring all these items in. It's going to be the next part of our form. So what's going to happen is when I select kitchen, it's going to move to this one. That's the one we're going to use. And then when it selects, what's this one? Refresh the look. That's going to be the next set. Now let's go to our prototypes here. Which one are they? Here we go. So if I go back, I haven't linked it in this prototype, but if you select kitchen, it's going to look like that. And then, you can see the different hover states. Refresh the look. Looks great. Okay, so we have everything pretty much linked. This is, once again, it's named 1, so let's name it 3 because the last one we did was 2. And this one's named 1 as well, so I'm holding Shift, Command or Control R, and this one's going to be 4. And so as we work through this, we're going to do slow 600. We're going to push. Looks good. Navigate backwards. Navigate backwards. Now, this is the only one that's going to trigger this one, so we're just going to do a simple smart animate. And then we move to the next one, which is going to be slow in 600. And remember, it's going to be a push. And these ones are going to be a push as well. Oops, to the wrong side there. Pushing out. So there we go. We have that set. Now, we're going to do 2 things here. You click the entire one, and we'll just do a quick smart animate with a ease out. So when you click it, the entire one, it goes and does that. But you can also click just the checkbox for us. I noticed that small little tweak. So if I click here, continue, boom, continue. Let's see if I go back. Oh my goodness. This looks amazing. Continue. Let's see what happens. That looks good. Let's try on here. Looks good. And there you go. We have the toggle cards already set in there, and we have our little checkboxes that are working perfectly. And I think everything else is set properly. Yes. Okay, and we are nearly done our form. Hey everyone, and welcome back. So the last bit that we're going to work on here is the carousel. So I'm going to bring this in. And what we're going to do here is we're going to make sure that when you select this carousel, this one's going to be 5 now. So just rename those 2 to 5, those containers. When you bring in this carousel, we're going to come in here. It's going to be a slow animation. It's going to push. Looks great. And these are just going to be reversed back this way. So pushing. Remember to click the animating matching layers. Oops, let's make sure that that was set properly. We want it to be 600. Let's make sure this one is set. Yes. Okay, now we can continue. So what's going to happen is I want to select this one. And when I make this selection, I'm going to just smart animate, ease into this one. And then from here, we're gonna start all the way at the beginning again. So like after a delay. So maybe we do like a 2000 delay. We dissolve. And it looks something like this. Let's see if it works. So let's see what it actually is supposed to look like. So you continue. So you have a nice carousel. Hopefully you built your own. That's pretty cool. I think the only thing I need to do is make sure that these have their component states properly set, because as you can tell, they're not working. And, you know, it'll be ready for everyone else. But these are the kind of things that, we need to make sure that we toggle properly. See, resetting component state, reset component state, reset component state. You just kind of do it for every single one of them. And these are the little kind of toggles that I hope Figma does make them a little bit more easy to spot, because they're right at the bottom. As you can tell on my my work laptop here, it's getting cut off even when I select it, and I have to scroll up to see it sometimes, which is a bit of a pain, but it's no big deal. We just want to make sure that we're properly setting these the first time around and not having to go back all the time. But sometimes it's just an iterative process, and these are the things that do happen. So let's press R. Trying to get all the way there. Okay, so we're going to select blue contemporary, and then it just restarts. So let's see what ours looks like. We come here, looking beautiful. And there you go. So you should definitely have your own massive form that we just built like this, ready to go, because this is a great portfolio piece. Shows potential employers and clients that you know how to use Figma properly, you know how to use some great interactive components, and you're thinking about all the different aspects when it comes to like interactions, micro interactions, and just how to utilize interactive components in your day-to-day work. So this is such a great way to show people that you know what you're doing. And there we go. We have our final piece to this puzzle. Hey everyone, and welcome back. We have another assignment. Let's jump in. I want you to think more about creating interactive form components. We did a lot of the basics, but there's so much more to do. Create some interactive form components for different parts of the estimation form. And if you're feeling ambitious, try thinking about what happens after the kitchen carousel selection. Can users review their selection? Is there a prepayment section? We haven't thought about those types of components yet. Either you could have followed along, or you can go at your very own pace. It's totally up to you. Our courses are great like that. And remember, share your work with us. Don't let me forget though, join our private online community on Discord. I promise you that this is one of the best, absolute best resources from ZTM. We have other students, mentors, and even instructors like myself that are always willing to help if you have a question, just want to share your work, or want to have a great discussion.